Hey folks, today I wanted to talk about survivorship bias and kind of my journey to becoming pretty good at debate. And I wanted to start by showing you something I was looking at the other day. This is a list of the entries in novice parliamentary debate, and I'll show you the list in open parliamentary debate right there. So you can look at that for a minute. So this is a list of all of the people who were entered in the first debate tournament that I competed at. This was in October of 2013. I had joined the team on Thursday, and the tournament started on I think Saturday, and so like I competed basically knowing nothing about debate. And I think I've mentioned this before, but my early career was not very good. At this tournament, I won my first round and then I lost the next five, and then it didn't get much better for like at least a year. But what I want to talk about is there are 30 names listed in this list. These are the novices who were at that tournament, including myself. And here there are 22 names listed. And the reason I'm pointing this out to you is because the only people, as far as I know, who from this entire list who ever competed at NPDA or NPTE are definitely Carmen and Miranda from St. Mary's. They graduated I think 2 years before I did. And then Ivy Zedrick, who I think competed for 1 year at UNR and then left the community. But that means out of the was it 42? Hopefully I'm not. No, it's not. It's 52, right? Math. Yeah, 52. Out of the 52 people on this list who competed, only 4 of us even competed at the national championship. And if we're trying to go to, okay, how far did you make it? If we're counting people who made it past quarters of a national championship tournament, I think it might just be me actually. And so our region, the NCFA, Northern California Forensic Association, has not historically been super strong. We've been much better in recent years, which has been awesome. But with that said, that means there were like 52 kids at this tournament, and only one of them went on to be in a top 8 plus team in the country, right? 8 or better team in the country. And it was me. And that to me is an interesting segue into this concept of survivorship bias. And for those of you who don't know, survivorship bias is how when we look at usually the example people give is like companies, right? We look at companies on like the S&P 500 and we see those companies and it looks like wow, they're doing really good. Now obviously we're in an economic downturn so it doesn't look that great, but in general that number on the S&P 500 goes up year on year, so on and so forth. But if the S&P 500 listed every company that had ever appeared on the index, it would look really, really badly, right? Because there'd be thousands upon thousands, probably tens of thousands of companies that were on there and ultimately failed. But we sort of just look at those who did succeed and think that that's the standard. And I think that that can happen with debate, and I think it could potentially even happen with our viewers when they think about someone like me, right? Because obviously I did make it to a very high level of debate and coach debate and all that kind of stuff now. But the idea that most people will get there just isn't reality based on the numbers that we can see. I would wager that maybe 10% of people will ever make it to, and this is at the absolute most. My numbers are probably just ridiculous here, but like Parley's gotten smaller. Maybe 10% of people will ever appear at a meaningful out round of a national championship tournament or even a national circuit tournament in general. And so I guess all I'm trying to say, given this note, is I'm not trying to discourage anyone from working, but I want to segue this into like, it was not easy for me to become good at debate or for me to become successful at debate. And a lot of it kind of came down to circumstance and luck to a certain degree, right? Whether you believe luck exists or whatever. I don't mean in that sense. I just mean like I happen to be in the right place at the right time. I happen to be in Northern California with a coach who reached out to Steve, my coach at Pacific, for me, earn a scholarship. I couldn't even afford to go to that school. They rejected the loan me and my dad signed on to, and we found someone to co-sign that loan for us just so I could go. And I happened to be there at a time where Dallas Phillips was there, who was one of the absolute best debaters in the country. And we happened to become pretty good friends really quickly and get along and work together effectively. And she happened to not have a partner our second year. And so, like, all of these things had to come together just for us to be able to debate together at all. And then a lot of work had to happen for us to get good. But in terms of like my career, like Pacific was pretty good for me. My first semester, because I was only there for one semester my first year, I transferred mid year. I did better than I should have, right? I made it to quarters at Mile High, broke a Mile High twice, which is cool. And yeah, made it to quarters of Mile High, which was way better than we had any right to do. It was me and Melissa, and neither of us had ever debated at Pacific. We'd had like 2 practice rounds total over winter break. I wasn't even enrolled at Pacific at the time. I was transferring in, and so that was wild. But let's jump way back. I went to this tournament, this terrible tournament. Not the tournament itself is nice, but like not quality wise. I mean, in terms of competition, I went to a tournament where I was in novice. Okay, and at this tournament, even in open, only 3 people ever went on to be basically any good at debate. And realistically, it was only 2 of them because one of them left right away after they after they cost Jeb Bush the presidency, like the candidacy of the Republican Party. Look into it; it's really funny. Um, but ignoring that, I went to this terrible tournament with 52 other debaters, and I was in the dog water division with 30 people total, and I lost every round but one at a tournament with like just full of nobodies. And I don't want to mean that in a mean way, but I mean people who never did anything in debate. I got destroyed. And then I went to the DVC thing, which wasn't called the DVC thing back then. It was called the Kevin Toohey Memorial Tournament. But we hosted our own tournament. I competed in novice, and I went 3-3 in prelims, broke to the first elimination round, and got stomped by Grace Miller, who is the one of the women from our region who was like a very very good debater and who ended up being the MPDA top speaker. She's actually in that round. She's the woman on the other team in that round that I posted yesterday of Pacific versus UNRAM. Really, really good debater. Crushed me when we were community college competitors. Like just crushed me all the time. It was rough. I got the better of it once we got to 4 year, but like I had Dallas, so kind of unfair. Anyway, 3-3 at DVC and then lost in the first elim. So right now we're sitting at 4-10, counting all rounds. Went to the Paul Winners Invitational back when it was really big, which was UOP's tournament. And I was still a novice, but one of our open competitors, who was not very good at debate at all, needed a partner. And so I said, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. And we won 1 round, so we went 1-5. So now we're at 5-15 through my first 3 tournaments. And then after that, went to, I think, the Talk Hawk Invitational and didn't do good, didn't break. Went to our regional championship, didn't break. And then I went to state and I broke on a 4-2 community college state and got a bronze. So I lost in the first elim. So like that whole year, I think I went something like, I don't know, like maybe 10-30. I got like absolutely destroyed that entire first year. And then the next year, when I was debating with Rosemary, we did a lot better in that first semester, but we still weren't very good. Like we were in open, we'd go to Paul Winners, we wouldn't even come close to breaking. I think we went like 2-4 at Paul Winners. We broke at the Northridge tournament, but then got destroyed by Long Beach, and then we stopped being partners because Rosemary took a break. I had a new partner, won my first tournament ever. We were 4-2, but we won like a local tournament, mostly CC teams. And then I went to state and I won state. And then I was planning on going to Berkeley, got kicked out, blah, 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 all that stuff. Like, went to San Francisco State, policy debater. I went 4-2 in my first policy debate tournament in junior and then ended up winning it. And then I went to one more policy debate tournament at UNLV in junior and had a really horrible experience. I think we also went 4-2 and lost in our first elim, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe we went 3-3 and that's why we didn't go to the elims. But like had a really horrible experience with my partner who was like English was like their third language and people were just spreading them out. And just part of the reason that I left for Pacific. But bottom line, my first 2 years, I definitely had a substantially losing record. And then I went to Pacific, and I had a winning record with Noreen, who was really my first partner, Melissa and Noreen, kind of in a certain sense. Went to nationals, broke at NPDA, did not break at NPTE, missed it by 1 ballot. And then the next year I was with Dallas, and for those 2 years, we won 90% of our rounds. So I spent 2.5 years being, at best, a 50-50, maybe 55-60% win rate debater. And those first 2 years were primarily regionally or at the CC level, and I was still losing, like losing a lot. And part of that was there was a lot more competition, like at least the numbers were bigger in debate back then, but really I just wasn't that good. And I had to work really, really hard to get better and put a lot of time and effort and thoughtfulness into it. And I remember being at DVC my second year in the spring before state, and I had finally found out about like technical debate and like spreading and stuff because me and Rosemary had gotten destroyed by Long Beach at that Northridge tournament I mentioned. And I came home and I looked up like 2013 or 2014 national champions, and I found Mike Selk and Josh Rivera from SIU. And I saw them win nationals, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, these guys are incredible!" And I've watched like every one of their rounds, and I transcribed them so that I could practice spreading. And I came to practice, and I'm like, "Hey guys, you want to try racing me on reading this?" And Sasan thought it was stupid. You were wrong, Sasan. That's why I was rank one, and you're fucking. You just got like a gold at state, whatever. Wrong, wrong. He was kind of right though, because obviously I've come around to his side of seeing things. But anyway, I kind of had to start teaching myself technical debate. And then even when I got to SF State, there wasn't like a ton of coaching going on. Teddy was very new to stuff, and I wasn't really getting into practice rounds. I don't think I had a single practice round before I went to my first tournament. Um, Kind of all of this stuff, and I eventually ended up at Pacific, where really I had Steve. And the reason I ended up at Pacific was because I looked up who coached SIURS, the 2014 national champions, and I found out their head coach was Todd Graham at Southern Illinois University. Uh, Kyle Cheesewright, who was at College of Idaho, Kevin Calderwood, who I think was at Concordia at that time, and then Stephen Farias. And I looked up all these people and found out that they had lectured for this thing. I think it was the Bellevue Debate Co-op. And I listened to the lectures and I was like, oh man, I really want to be coached by this Cheesewright guy, but I'm not moving to Idaho. And then I heard Steve's lecture on judge adaptation. And I was like, oh, I like this guy a lot. I really like his style. And then I found out he coached in our region at Pacific. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the perfect coincidence. And everything came together. And I went to Pacific, and I went to my first practice over that winter break where me and Melissa debated Jonathan Bruce and Reed Ramsey and got the living shit kicked out of us. Like they destroyed us, bro. I had we both almost had like breakdowns because I was like, oh my God, I was not ready for this. I thought I was ready to go to the school, but like I'm not even close. But very soon afterwards, I started doing a lot of work, really focusing on stuff, being in more high level rounds, doing the drills, and I got better. And by junior year, we were a very successful team. We were rank one. We won like 3 or 4 tournaments, 1 mile high, national semifinalist, 6th place at the other one, I think. Did really good. And even then, like when I put up that video the other day, I watched that video and I'm like, yeah, I was very good at that point. But I certainly was nowhere near as good as I was senior year. Like senior year, I took a huge level up because after junior year, once we had that nationals run, I finally had the confidence that like, oh no, we're really good, and most of these people have no chance of really beating us. So I'm gonna come in after this summer and just destroy people. And so I just worked incredibly hard over that summer, did drills, asked people questions, reach out to Sam Cook a lot, who I think is a goat. I'll do a video on that someday. Just talk to people about debate. Wanted to get better at debate, talk to Dallas, we met up, we did some stuff, whatever. And then changed speaker positions because Steve made me, and we just got really good. We were very legitimately very, 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 very good, elite level debaters. Dallas was one of the absolute best in the country, and our junior and senior year, something I'm kind of proud of, like whatever, this is like a consolation prize. I don't really believe in those. But our junior and senior year, every team that eliminated us from the national championship tournament went on to win the national championship tournament. And yeah, so it's like, like, I mean, I'm not saying that that means we were the second best team in the country or whatever, but like, we never lost or got eliminated rather by anyone who wasn't ultimately a national champion, right? And so we were right up there for sure. But bottom line, like, that's a lot of work. It was not like I just started doing speaking drills like every day and then suddenly was good. I had to do so many practice rounds at Pacific, so many office hours, so much talking with Dom and Dallas, talking to other really smart people in debate, and just working and working and working. And no one really saw that work but my teammates, because it's not like a public thing. People just kind of assume you get good. And I have this with guitar because I'll see people who play guitar and I'm like, God, they're so good, and I'm like, I couldn't even imagine how to get there, but I can because I did it with debate, bro. Like, but it just took a ton of work. And I think that comparing yourself to other people and kind of the end state of their careers can be really damaging because you think you can't get there. And the reality is, a lot of you just won't, right? Even if you are talented and hardworking, a lot of you still won't because there can only be so many people who are at that elite or best level. But if you don't try, you absolutely won't get there. And so it's Christmas Eve. That's all I wanted to say. I could not let the streak die. Um, that's it. Bye. Have a good one. Merry holiday. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Whatever. I celebrate Christmas. If you don't like it, move on.